In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, nestled along the banks of Mirror Lake in upstate New York, life had always felt like a postcard from simpler times. Families like the Harrisons had moved there back in 2020, drawn by the promise of serene waterside views and a tight-knit community governed by the Lakeside Homeowners Association. Tom Harrison, a retired engineer with a knack for spotting trouble, loved his lakeside home, but he couldn't ignore the subtle changes creeping in. The lake, once a crystal-clear gem, was starting to whisper warnings that no one wanted to hear. It all began subtly in the fall of 2022, when a report from the state's Environmental Bureau landed in the association's inbox. The document painted a grim picture. Heavier rains from shifting weather patterns were accelerating erosion along the lake's edges, with unstable soil threatening to crumble under the weight of rising waters. Experts predicted that without intervention, properties could lose chunks of land, and the ecosystem might collapse. Tom, ever the vigilant type, forwarded it to the board, led by Stern chairperson Eleanor Vance, a real estate agent who prioritized aesthetics over alarms. But that was just the start. Residents didn't stay silent. By early 2023, whispers turned to pleas. Sarah Patel, a young mother living 2 doors down from Tom, penned a heartfelt letter after noticing cracks snaking through her backyard toward the water. "Our kids play here," she wrote, her words trembling on the page. "What if the ground gives way?" Soon, a petition circulated, gathering over 60 signatures from folks like old Mr. Jenkins, whose dock had already tilted precariously, and the Ramirez family, who reported murky water seeping into their basement during storms. At a heated town hall in May, voices rose. Tom stood up, his face flushed, recounting how he'd measured a 2-foot drop in the shoreline near his property. "This isn't just dirt washing away," he urged. "It's our homes, our safety." Eleanor nodded politely, promising to look into it. But the meeting ended with coffee and small talk. No action in sight. What stung the most was how straightforward the fixes could have been. The association had the funds dues piled up every month, and the know-how was right there in black and white. They could have hired engineers to survey the weak spots and shore up the banks with sturdy rock walls or mesh barriers to hold the soil in place. Planting deep-rooted grasses and shrubs would have naturally armored the edges against the relentless waves. On the water side, installing adjustable gates or pumps to regulate levels during heavy rains would have prevented overflows. Hell, even routine checks on the drainage pipes could have cleared blockages before they turned minor drips into disasters. Tom sketched out plans in his garage, sharing them at barbecues, but the board dismissed them as overkill, opting instead for cosmetic projects like new flower beds around the clubhouse. As months dragged into 2024, the threat grew teeth. Spring rains hammered Willow Creek harder than ever, swelling Mirror Lake until it lapped greedily at fences and patios. Tom watched in horror as water levels climbed a full foot above normal, swallowing the community beach where kids once built sandcastles. Erosion scars deepened great gouges in the earth, exposed twisted roots like skeletal fingers clawing for help. Sarah's backyard fence teetered, and Mr. Jenkins's dock finally snapped free one stormy night, floating away like a ghost ship. Properties that once boasted premium views now sported for sale signs, values plummeting as buyers whispered about the lake curse. Tensions boiled over at emergency meetings, with shouts echoing, "You ignored us." Tom confronted Eleanor directly, his voice cracking with fury. "We begged you, and now look how our dreams are eroding away." The climax hit like a thunderclap in July 2025. A freak downpour, the kind climate folks had warned about, unleashed a torrent that breached the weakened banks. Water surged, flooding basements and toppling a section of shoreline that took half of the Ramirez's deck with it. Sirens wailed as families evacuated, hearts pounding in the chaos. Tom helped Sarah bundle her kids into a car, mud caking their shoes, while Eleanor stood frozen, the weight of inaction crashing down. In the aftermath, lawsuits loomed, trust shattered, and the once idyllic community fractured into blame and regret. Homes stood damaged, wildlife displaced, and the lake, now a murky menace, mocked their complacency. Was the Lakeside Association criminally negligent, or just victims of bureaucracy? Should residents have sued sooner, or was collective denial to blame? Drop your thoughts below. Did the board deserve jail time? Or is this just nature's revenge? Like if you faced HOA drama, comment your wildest stories, and subscribe for more real-life tales that hit close to home. What would you have done differently?